when I'm fishing wind that I want to put that bait where those bass are. I don't want it back in that calm back of this. I want it on the wind front. And that's where the fish are going to be. Wind front. I don't want to. That was on the wind front. The wind front, guys. Oh, gosh. Strong for a little one. All right. Fish number one. And here's the good news. We're not even really in the heavy part of the wind yet. But again, we're being very conscious out here. We don't want to fish the calm, protected water. On purpose, we are fishing the pieces of cover that are getting the wind blown into them. We're making our way to the windiest part of the lake, but as we're getting there, we're fishing the wind fronts of all these patches of pads. You know, if you saw where that fish came from, he actually came from that one, but he came from the front side of this pads, and he's just down there. That's one of the baits we talked about. That's a missile mini swim, bluegill colored swim jig. And he's literally just, he's sitting there in front of those pads waiting for that stuff to get blown into him, right? Remember, that wind is a pushing agent. So it's pushing everything right to that fish. Good first one. See, like that cast right there? See, I'm going to actually parallel that wind front. Look at this. I mean, if there was one there, he would eat that because that was the right cast. Yeah, I mean, when it gets like this, when that wind picks up, I'm ignoring the backs. Like I said, I want to keep the bait high percentage areas. So there might be a rando there, but I'm not worried about the rando. I want to fish all this wind front. I know how these fish set up in this wind. Their nose is sticking out, always on the windy front of it. Every time. And that corner's got wind, and then behind it, it's calm. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff. Now, I do want to say something real quick to you guys watching. The one time a year where what I'm saying doesn't necessarily hold true is when they're not worried about food, which is the spawn, right? So spawning is different. Spawning, when they get into the spawning mode, food doesn't matter as much as spawning. So they will be in protected areas in the spawn. But we're talking about fish that are feeding. We're talking about running wind. All right. Ooh. Yeah, that was not a bass. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, what we got here is we got a little